It broke out beneath the roof of the 12th century cathedral amid restoration work quickly spread across the top of the building and onto the 96-metre wooden spire. As the fire raged, huge parts of the roof fell into the nave below, and it melted many of the 40,000 pieces of scaffolding involved in the restoration. The real risk that the whole scaffolding structure would plummet to the ground, taking much of the cathedral with it. As onlookers from across Paris watched from the ground and television viewers watched across the world, the spire came crashing down. A huge outpouring of emotion that one of the greatest iconic buildings the world has ever seen could soon be gone. In the end, the more than 400 firefighters involved in the battle to save Notre Dame largely achieved just that. Extensive damage, yes, but the main structure of the building saved.
We will all rebuild this cathedral together. It is undoubtedly part of the French destiny, and it's a project that we will have for years to come. Starting tomorrow, an international call will be launched well beyond our borders. We will seek out the greatest talents, and all will contribute. And we will rebuild. We will rebuild Notre Dame because this is what the French expect, and this is what our history deserves.
Initially then, a string of options. Should the cathedral be rebuilt in the same way, using the same materials? Or should something else take its place? This swimming pool idea, even from Swedish architects. In the end, the French government pledging to restore the building as it was, as piece by piece the scaffolding began to be removed. The reconstruction has, of course, faced setbacks, fears of lead poisoning and coronavirus restrictions. But the work progresses. These 20-metre tall centenary oak trees recently felled, ready to rebuild the spire. The deadline for the main work to be finished in the spring of 2024, ready for France's hosting of the Olympics. A huge task, but one relished by those determined to see Notre Dame rise again. Well, Norris, Trent and Melina Huet revisit Notre Dame for France 24.
An open wound gapes at the heart of Notre Dame. The giant hole where the cathedral's spire crashed through the roof on that fateful evening in April 2019.
It fell. All the material fell right down to the floor here. It almost completely destroyed the floor of the intersection and damaged the floor of the nave and of part of the choir area.
Pascal Prunet is one of the chief architects tasked with securing and rebuilding Notre Dame. A giant medieval structure that's exceptionally fragile.
Everything is slender. The walls are thin, the pillars are thin. It's almost as though the material has been stretched right out and it hasn't been reinforced. So it's often right at the maximum capacity or limit of the stone.
The most delicate part lies above a forest of scaffolding 28 meters high.
You can see this whole choir area. The scaffolding here is like an internal cathedral of its own. It's a beautiful vision, architecturally, even if it's only temporary.
In the final stage of shoring up Notre Dame, what remains of its vaulted ceiling needs to be urgently reinforced. A large-scale operation is imminent.
Here you can see an area which has been badly damaged by the fire. These vaults were only about 12 or 13 centimeters thick, and the fire caused it to probably lose 2 centimeters of that.
Above miraculously intact stained windows, warped stones, blasted by the firefighters' hoses, and cracks dating back to the Middle Ages, reopened by the extreme heat.
If you're talking about fragile, look at that area up near the top of the vaulting, which is completely grey. The stones have probably been cooked. We'll have to replace them. They resisted temperatures of 800 to 900 degrees Celsius.
The inferno which raged through Notre Dame sent a shockwave through the heart of Paris.
Oh là là.
especially the island on which it stands, the Île de la Cité.
I could stay for hours looking at Notre Dame. This place emanates a great deal of calm, despite everything that's happened.
In the past 2 years, local resident Isabel has been in mourning. And yet her memories of the fire remain very raw.
I think I remember screaming when we saw an absolutely gigantic flame that was higher than the two towers and bright orange. That image, even now when I'm talking about it, it's just a vision of horror. I am a Christian, a member of the parish here. We have a very personal attachment to Notre Dame. It was as though it called out to us, as though we were drawn to it. When I started living on the Île de la Cité, I started going to Mass. It was as though it was impossible to resist.
It wasn't just the faithful who flocked to Notre Dame. Before the fire, it was France's most visited monument, attracting some 13 million tourists a year. Local businesses were feeling the loss long before the coronavirus pandemic. Ferid runs a restaurant previously filled with international visitors.
Do you remember how it was before?
Of course.
There were crowds, it was incredible.
It's unbelievable.
All the tourists who brought Paris and Notre Dame to life. They brought this area to life, but they're not here anymore. It's virtually dead.
That's sure.
I don't even see many local residents
I
anymore.
think a lot of
There's
them
no
have
one.
left.
Yes, many have left. The neighbourhood is not like before. It's sad. I can't wait to get back to life as it was.
That's right.
Working to return Notre Dame to its former glory are expert tradesmen from all over France. 300 kilometres to the east of Paris, one firm has been working flat out on huge arches to hold the damaged stonework in place, using 3D modelling for maximum precision and speed.
These are emergency measures. We have to make the pieces and get them out as quickly as possible. If we had to make them on site, we'd still be there in 10 years or more than 10 years.
The last restoration of Notre Dame's medieval structure took 2 decades back in the mid-19th century.
We can't afford to make any mistakes. When the cathedral was originally built, at the time they used perfectly shaped pieces, but over time the building moved and became deformed. And then there was the fire, so we're no longer working with perfect shapes. That's why we can't do without 3D modelling now.
They're constructing 52 arches. Every angle, joint and plank is unique. It's essentially a vast 3D jigsaw to reinforce the top of Notre Dame using the latest technology.
This is one of the finished pieces that we're going to place right under the vault to relieve the pressure on the stone. This is a robotic arm which can produce a curve. It can do any form. It's technology that works very quickly. We have to be accurate right down to the nearest millimeter. Everything has to meet that standard.
Damien is the technical director of Le Bras Frères, a firm which has previously restored the Louvre and the Château of Versailles. They were also working on the roof of Notre Dame on the day ahead of the fire, and watched in horror at a distance as the firefighters battled the blaze and accusations flew.
At first, we couldn't believe it. People were saying, Notre Dame is on fire, but we didn't understand what was going on. We were far away, we could see the fire spreading, the spire collapsing. It felt terrible. We couldn't believe it actually. We watched it all night on TV. Our job is to build beautiful frameworks, good quality, following all the rules, and then this. There were false rumors flying around, people hinting that we were behind the accident. It was a lot to take.
The company has now been classed as a plaintiff in the ongoing investigation into the Notre Dame fire. And Lebrun employees helped to save the cathedral, working around the clock to build emergency supports to prevent the edifice from collapse.
The main goal was to save Notre Dame. It's Notre Dame, it's world-renowned, our pride and joy. We're all from a small village here. We're working class, country folk. We're strong. We know how to get back on our feet. We get back up and move on. Our first aim is to make it safe, and then hopefully rebuild it.
In just a few weeks' time, Le Bras Frère is due to complete the consolidation of Notre Dame's vaults. Meanwhile, back in Paris, work has already been taking place on test sites, exploring how to reveal hidden treasures inside the chapels of Notre Dame.
The lowest parts have suffered the most from the fire, the dust and the humidity. The water sprayed everywhere by the firemen. During our work, after cleaning it off, we discovered the amazing colours underneath, which date back to Viollet-le-Duc.
Viollet-le-Duc, the legendary 19th century architect who restored and overhauled Notre Dame. Since then, 150 years of dust meant that lead from the burnt roof stuck to the walls. Cleaning that off has revealed a surprisingly bright palette.
You can see the colours match the stained windows. This blue here matches the windows. This red matches the windows, and the same colours appear on the columns. There are colour effects everywhere.
Like the rest of the cathedral, these chapels are being restored exactly as they were in the 19th century.
As restorers, we're not changing or adding anything. The range of colours you can see here are the originals, chosen by Viollet-le-Duc.
Marie's team of restorers worked for 2 months to breathe new life into the walls of the test chapels, trying out techniques for the upcoming restoration and getting an unparalleled preview of the dazzling artwork.
We often say we're between the sky and the soil. Our viewpoint is exactly the same as the painters who originally did the decor. We're right in the same place, at the same level. It's so nice. We get to see the original brushstrokes.
Notre Dame will soon boast colours brighter than in living memory, which visitors should be able to admire in a few years' time, if the restoration deadline can be met.
The first stone of this cathedral was laid in the year 1163, and ever since then there's always been building work here.
A French army general, Jean-Louis Georgelin, was named by President Macron to oversee the monumental works, which have already suffered setbacks, lead contamination, coronavirus and bad weather.
It is an extremely ambitious schedule, but we are still on course to reopen the cathedral to worshippers in 2024. It won't be completely finished, of course. There will still be work to do on the outside, notably the outside wall, and other work to finish. And above all, we have to finish the consolidation of the building, which will only be done this summer.
For the ultimate but risky stage in making Notre Dame's structures safe, the 52 wooden arches from eastern France are arriving in Paris. They have to be lifted 30 meters high, right over the fragile edifice, in a perilous operation. We catch up with Damien Brisson from Le Bras Frère underneath Notre Dame's badly damaged vaults.
Et encore, vas-y.
We're providing relief for the cathedral, giving it crutches, support, because there are many weaknesses.
The arches weigh around 1.5 tons each. Every time they hoist one into place, Damien and the team hold their breath.
It's far from simple. It's always a big responsibility. We've got workers underneath. There's always a risk. With a bit of wind, you never know. But it's going well. We're very happy, and the work is continuing.
After months of work, it's a huge relief to finally secure the cathedral's vaults.
The Notre Dame experience is on our CV now, but I think we don't really realize what we're a part of. But when we see the arches in place, we're very happy and, yes, proud.
Proud is the word on everyone's lips as this phase of Notre Dame's revival comes to a close.
We're all very proud to work on this building site. Proud because, it's been said a lot, this monument is an emblem of France. It's the Gothic cathedral par excellence. And we are aware that the world is watching us. The whole world is watching our progress. We're aware of all that's at stake, we're aware of the difficulties, and we can't afford to make any mistakes. We are all working hard to complete this project and complete it well.
There remains a great deal of painstaking work before Notre Dame can rise from the ashes. Until then, the 850-year-old edifice will have to bear its wounds, right in the heart of Paris.
Catherine, Norris, Trent and Melina Huet revisiting Notre Dame for France 24. Well, that's all from this week's edition. Don't forget, of course, you can catch it and the previous editions as well on our website at france24.com. More news coming up very shortly. Thanks for watching.